We begin tonight in Maryland, where the man convicted of raping and murdering a mother of 5 2 years ago is spending his last night at the Harford County Jail. At 8 a.m. tomorrow, in shackles and under heavy guard, Victor Martinez Hernandez will move to a maximum security prison that he will never leave, unless it's to move to a different maximum security prison. A Maryland judge today sentenced Martinez Hernandez to 2 life terms plus 40 years, saying, and I quote, "There is simply no hope to rehabilitate you." But the words that may still be ringing in the killer's ears tonight didn't come from the bench. They came from Rachel Morin's children, whose victim impact statements were read or played in court. Rachel's 12-year-old son said simply, "She was a good mom. I think about the life I had with her and my 4 sisters. I miss her." The victim's 15-year-old daughter, the last one to see her alive, wishes she could have stopped her from leaving the house that day. And the eldest daughter called her mom kind, strong, honest, and said that she had the best laugh. And she quoted here saying, "I had to relive the worst 2 days of my life in order to write this." Martinez Hernandez showed no reaction to any of it, but others in the courtroom broke down. Even the translator struggled to keep going, and some people had to leave. Rachel Morin's mother spoke too, and those words, the killer twitched in his chair, the only time he reacted, apparently. Victor Martinez Hernandez spent 10 months on the run after ambushing, raping, strangling, and bludgeoning a woman he had never met. His DNA was on every piece of evidence presented at the trial, and the jury needed just 46 minutes to find him guilty of first-degree murder, first-degree rape, and kidnapping. NewsNation correspondent Marcus Espinoza joins me now from outside of the county jail in Hartford, where there's been a lot going on here today. Let's start with any update about his transfer, Marcus. I understand that he might be on the move.
Hey, Laura, what a day, and really what an evening all around for the Morin family and for really everybody involved today. But you mentioned that for Victor Martinez Hernandez, behind me here at the county jail, likely his very last night he will spend in jail. He will then move to a maximum security prison where he will spend the rest of his life. He's going to get moved tomorrow at 8 a.m. I heard from the warden here at the county jail, so that is confirmed that he's going to be on the move at 8 a.m. To be honest, what I heard from the warden is that they would have moved him today, Laura, if they had time, but it was simply too late in the day to get it done today because it was an order from the judge to basically get this done, get this moved as soon as possible, to get him into prison as quickly as possible. So because everything took so long today, they did not make that move, but he is moving tomorrow at 8 a.m. to either one of 2 facilities, either the Cumberland County Prison or in Hagerstown at the Maryland Correctional Institute. One of those 2 places, Martinez Hernandez will spend the rest of his life, Laura.
You know, it's really incredible, the detective work, the police work that was done here with so many different agencies to find him and track him down in Oklahoma after all of this and after being on the run that long. So there was that. But then to get to today, to get to this sentencing, one of the hardest parts of these cases is the victim impact statements. I want you to tell us about the children's impact statements and hearing their voices. That must have been hard for everybody in the court, but maybe not so hard for him. Did he have any reaction? And what did they say?
Yeah, so that was a hard courtroom to be in today for myself, for my producers that were inside there, Laura. It was very difficult to hear that victim testimony from 10 people today. It was just gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching. But before I get to that, I want to mention what you brought up, the journey here. I spoke with the chief earlier today who's been on this case since the beginning. He mentioned that there was that period where they were 10 months in without an arrest and the words cold case started getting floated around. They never gave up hope that this would never turn into that. They finally got that break when they got that DNA match that we've been talking about all day that really broke this case open, that identified Victor Martinez Hernandez as the person who killed Rachel Morin. And so that was a huge break for them. I wanted to make sure to point that out, that this police department here and everybody involved did not give up on this case here and on the Morin family. Now, you mentioned there the courtroom today. One of the hardest courtrooms I've ever had to be in, Laura. I had to, and everybody else in that room, and then of course, Martinez Hernandez had to listen to voice recordings of 3 of her children because they were simply too young and probably just unaware of the situation to be in there in court, but they recorded their own personal statements, their own victim statements. Some of them young as 9 years old, just imagine that, right? And they all did them by themselves. Nobody coached them, nobody said this is what you should write. This all came from the heart. And these voices played, right? And as soon as these voices played, tears came flowing down everybody's eyes in that courtroom, except perhaps the person spending the rest of his life in jail. But I want to highlight a few of these moments here. The 4th child, the only son, his voice recording played, again, said she was a good mom. She provided everything we wanted. When I got the news, I couldn't process she was gone. This is a young child trying to express this. And you could just hear in the tone of voice his confusion over having to be able to explain the fact that he no longer has his mother. I also want to go to the 9-year-old and youngest daughter, 7, when the crime occurred there. Not having a mother is sad. When her friends talk about their moms, she gets sad. There are nights where I miss her. She sometimes thinks of the times where she mistreated her mother, wishes she could go back. She also, this was really brave of this young girl, she also spoke for her other sister who has autism and said she has had trouble understanding why her mom is gone. She thinks her mom is the brightest star. She is the sun. Also, I got some more background on that other daughter who could not speak, that the 9-year-old spoke for, that her memory is exceptional. And so when she has to recall this moment of losing her mother, she remembers every detail. And so you can imagine how hard today would have been for her, and her sister instead stepped up and did that for her today. Also, a 15-year-old spoke as well, the 2nd child. She remembers the moment she got the call. She felt like she was stabbed through the chest, Laura, that her life ended in that moment. She wonders if there's something that she could have done. She only got 13 years with her mom. One act, one person brought so much pain to the family. Her mother brought so much light into the world. She will never be able to talk to her again. So it was devastating testimony, devastating victim statements that you heard there that really brought tears to so many people in that room.
I just can't even imagine. Marcus Espinoza, we know that Martinez Hernandez didn't have a lot of reaction, and we're going to get into that next. I thank you very much for your reporting. I know that was a difficult day. Thank you so much. I'm pleased now to welcome Patty Morin into the program, Rachel Morin's mother, along with her attorney, Randolph Rice. Thank you both for being here tonight. First, Patty, I just, again, our deepest sympathies to you. We've been following the story so closely and watching along for your bravery and the bravery of everyone in your family going through this. So thank you for joining us on this very important evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I wanted to let's just start with today. You've waited 2 years for this moment to come. And we know that victim impact statements can be so hard. I read through your statement in whole, incredible words, remembering your daughter. Did you feel a sense of justice with the sentence that was given? Did you feel a sense, you can't use the word closure, but just being there in that moment and being able to speak those words in the same room as Victor? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was hard to write the victim statement, but I didn't think past writing it until I actually got into the courtroom and had to sit down and read it. And I was crying so hard I could hardly see the words as I was reading it, because it just, as I was reading it, it was like a culmination of the whole 2 years. And just all the memories that I've had and just all the feelings. And then to be able to express them to the judge, who I knew would pass sentence, but then also for Victor to hear how much it has affected me personally. And also for him, I hope, to understand the kind of person that Rachel was and how valuable she was, so that he could see and the court could see the contrast between him and his crime and the evil behind it, and how good and pure, in a sense, Rachel was.
Right.
So,
You know, when we do the victim impact statements and we report on them and we watch you go through something like this, it is so devastating. And our reporter, Marcus, was telling us that there wasn't a dry eye in that courtroom. But your statement is the one that seemed to really strike a nerve with Martinez Hernandez. People say that he was visibly bothered during all of this. You know, everybody's waiting to see if he's going to have a reaction, if he's going to turn and say, I'm sorry. That's what we're always waiting for. We're waiting for these convicted killers to tell us why. Why did you do it? How could you do this to this beautiful person? Did you see that he was visibly bothered?
I actually have very poor eyesight.
Okay.
So I couldn't see him. I could see the stripes on the uniform he was wearing, but I couldn't see him. But I had several people tell me that he was crying, wiping tears away when I was speaking. So I know that it affected him. I don't know what he was thinking that would cause him to cry. I hope that maybe understanding how valuable Rachel was and that she was a mother and that her children will never be able to hear her voice again or to be able to feel her embrace, that maybe that might have somehow triggered memories of his mother or his girlfriend and his child. I don't know.
It's unbelievable what you have been through these last 2 years, and how brave of you and everybody that got up and did what you did today with the victim impact statements. Randolph, I want to bring you in. I want to ask you your opinion. I know you were in the room. Just give us an overall takeaway and also why you think that Patty's statement bothered him so much and that there was finally some type of a reaction that people at least could pick up on.
Laura, I think that the entire Morin family, as well as the kids, just did an amazing job today. You know, it was such a great presentation by the prosecutor's office. Every family member was prepared. You know, I've done hundreds of these victim impact statements as both a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, and oftentimes they feel sort of put together at the last minute, but these were just so well written. And Patty delivered her so well that I agree with her. I looked over and I saw Martinez Hernandez wiping away, at least with his undershirt, a couple times while she spoke. And I think the connection is I also saw him wiping away tears when his attorneys were describing the fact that he never knew his mother. And so maybe there was that connection there that Patty made to him that made him for a moment, think about the horrible things he did to Rachel on that trail.
Yeah, and I've walked that trail. I traveled to the Ma and Pa Trail where this happened, and it's such a beautiful place. And I know, Patty, that this was one of her favorite places to run. They've since installed cameras there along the path, and maybe that would have made a difference back then. I don't know. And I know that her children, I'm not sure if anybody will ever be able to go back there, but we did hear those heartbreaking statements from Rachel's children. How strong of these young people for them to be able to put those words to paper and to say them on the mic. How did you prepare them for today, your grandchildren? And how did they prepare you, the prosecutors, the court? How did you, sit down and deal with what you had to deal with?
I think the foundation of our family is that we love each other unconditionally and that we're very accepting of each person. And I think that is the foundation of a very strong family. When we did these impact statements, family members, we actually didn't share our statements with each other because it was so personal and it was so much a part of us being vulnerable and sharing our raw feelings and emotions and memories. So much so that we didn't want anyone to know until we actually sat down and read it, because we didn't want it to lose the impact. And because we wanted each family member to be able to focus on their own and not be influenced by something someone else in the family would say. So when we came to the courtroom, that was our first time hearing each other's statements.
That is really smart. I mean, that is incredible that, you know, some people would want to be able to rehearse it and be able to practice it. But the fact that you did it cold on that day today in court is really remarkable. So our hat tip to you and your family. Randolph, I've got to ask you, Martinez-Hernandez, you know, we keep talking about showing no remorse, maybe a couple of tears, and and Patty brings up that good point, so did you, about, you know, is he remembering his own childhood? Is he hopefully thinking about what he did and thinking about the lives that he has impacted forever? But now he is still denying what he did, despite the mountains of evidence. Are they still trying to say that the DNA was planted?
Oh, he's got a million different stories, Laura. You know, he said somebody brought it from California. Then he said they brought it from El Salvador. And I mean, the lies he continues to tell, it's amazing. I mean, it's like a kid with cookies in his mouth, and he's telling you he didn't eat cookies after you keep asking him. He just keeps denying. Also to the point at the end when he has the opportunity to allocute, to tell the court what his position is, he thanks his lawyers, he thanks the judge, and he says, and I'm going to appeal this trial. So right there, he is still in denial, which just is crazy to anybody that's sitting there watching this.
Yeah. And Patty, I heard that before today, you weren't even sure you even wanted to hear him speak. You didn't even want to hear words come out of his mouth because you didn't know if you could believe him. You know, did you want to hear more from him? Are you glad that he didn't speak, or did you want more answers?
Well, I didn't think that I would get answers from him. Because of him not really having any kind of reaction throughout the whole hearing. Even when they showed such very graphic photographs of the crime scene and the autopsy photos, he didn't really react. So, and then they had proven that he had lied in so many things throughout the investigation that you couldn't believe him if he did speak.
Right.
So I wasn't expecting, honestly, I wasn't expecting him to say anything or to defend himself, or because he doesn't think he's guilty.
Right.
Or that he's done anything wrong, I should say.
And let me ask you just about the crime scene photos. Obviously, they were shown at trial, but they were, for our audience, they were shown today, again in court, correct?
Only two. Most of the most graphic ones are sealed.
Okay.
So if you weren't there the first time, you probably will never see them.
Okay, good. All right, Randolph, quickly, there was speculation that he would be sent back to El Salvador, to that big prison that we've been reporting on. But that's no longer an option, right?
That's correct. You know, he'll spend the rest of his life in a Maryland prison and presumably die in that Maryland prison. Okay.
Well, we're continuing to follow his movements. You probably heard that he's on the move in the morning. Patty, I want to give you just the last word. Is there anything that you weren't able to say today that you want to say right now on the program?
Yes. Something that I didn't say that I've been thinking about since this started, and I had to write an impact statement, is that, you know, he still has more than we have. He has breath in his lungs. My daughter doesn't. He has a daughter that someday he may be able to see. I'll never be able to see my daughter again. So even though he has a lifetime in prison, he still has more than our family has and my daughter has.
Wow, that is very powerful. Patty Morin, thank you so much for coming on the program tonight after a really emotionally draining day. And Randolph Rice, thank you both very much. And Patty, again, our condolences, and we'll stay in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to you both. Up next, you know that there are lots of people still convinced that a jury got it wrong by sending Richard Allen to prison for the brutal Delphi murders, a case we've been following here on Banfield. It's coming up on a year since that emotionally painful trial. I've got an update on where the killer is tonight. He's actually been moved to a different prison. Did you know that? Also, an investigative team who covered every tiny bit of the brutal killings and the trial of Richard Allen. They have created the definitive account of the Delphi murders. You can decide for yourself. They're going to tell us all about it. They join me live next. It appears the Indiana pharmacy tech convicted of the infamous Delphi murders will serve out his sentence, at least for a while, in Oklahoma. Our NewsNation affiliate in Indianapolis says Richard Allen was transferred to a maximum security prison just outside of Oklahoma City at the end of last month. Back in December, Allen was sentenced to 130 years for killing Abby Williams and Libby German near an abandoned railway bridge where the two best friends had been hiking. He was convicted in part by his own multiple confessions during the 2 years he was held, sometimes in solitary, pending trial. But through it all, Allen's wife insists he's not, in her word, a monster. Kathy Allen describes her husband as a family man, a wonderful, caring, compassionate father with good morals. Richard Allen's wife and lone defender broke her silence in a Hulu docuseries called Capturing Their Killer, The Girls on the High Bridge. And so did the families of the victims. I'm joined now by Áine Cain and Kevin Greenlee. They're a married couple who host a podcast, a very popular one, called The Murder Sheet, which focused on the Delphi case practically from day one. And in just a few days, you can buy their new book called Shadow of the Bridge. It's out on August 26th. Áine and Kevin, welcome back to the program. Good to see you guys. I've been following you guys from the beginning, interviewed you a couple of times. I mean, you know this case so well. Tell us something about the case today, about, the investigation, the trial that didn't get attention, or maybe coverage that got it wrong.
That's such a good question. And Laura, thank you so much. We've always appreciated your in-depth coverage of this case as well. I would say that one key thing that has maybe not really surfaced so much is just perhaps the entire case against Richard Allen. I think we in this day and age are so used to DNA or surveillance footage capturing everything that it can be kind of hard to understand something that's more based on a timeline. But that doesn't mean the case against Richard Allen isn't compelling. I would say that this is a case where the pieces of evidence against him stack up like little pebbles that add up to a great weight. And I just think that hasn't really been stacked up for people in a way that all comes together at once. So, I mean, that's what we sort of do in our book, is just sort of bring all these disparate threads. And what we wanted to do is basically the culmination of years of research and reporting, just answer the question of, did this guy do it? What happened with this investigation? Why did it take so long? So we're seeking to answer those questions.
Right. And Kevin, talk to us a little bit about the evidence that you're stacking up like pebbles in the book. What is something that might be surprising to people when they read it? Because, of course, not everything is reported. Tell us more about the evidence in those pebbles.
I think there's quite a bit of circumstantial evidence that's difficult at first to understand because doesn't grab you like the DNA evidence. For instance, there was a number of witnesses who reported seeing a person dressed as bridge guy out on the trails that day. They all just saw one person dressed as bridge guy. There wasn't a number of people dressed as bridge guy. There wasn't a group of Odinists out there dressed as bridge guy. There was one person dressed as bridge guy, and Richard Allen puts himself on that bridge dressed as bridge guy. So essentially, when he does that, he is saying, I am bridge guy, which is tantamount to a confession. And of course, he also literally confessed about 61 times.
Yeah. And of course, the voice, and people know the words down the hill. That is what we're seeing on our screen. And that is what the girls captured on their cell phone before they were found tragically murdered down below. I also want to ask you both about your reaction to Kathy Allen saying her husband is such a great guy and leaving open the possibility that he's innocent. It is her right to have that opinion. But hearing it, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, Áine.
I think in our show, we try to have a lot of empathy for people who are the relatives or loved ones of a possible killer, or in this case, a convicted killer. And, denial can be a very strong thing. So when we see Kathy Allen up there sort of describing this very rosy, wonderful marriage with this just terrific guy, I see someone who's in a lot of pain. I see someone who is in deep denial as well. And it's really interesting for me, Laura, because when I see that, it's markedly different than what we saw in the police interview tape that she appears in, where she's extremely standoffish with her husband, where she's accusing him, saying, basically that he lied to her about being on the bridge that day. So it's interesting that she says she was really convinced by sort of like the idea that he was going to get acquitted and really believed his attorneys, right? So when that didn't happen, I'm just curious, like, my thing is, I wonder if she's rethinking things now at this point.
All right. And, it's hard to believe that Libby German and Abby Williams will both be 22 years old right now as we move through this story together. Kevin, I'll give you the last word of what people will take away. I've got 20 seconds left for your last thoughts on this.
These were remarkable young girls, and they almost literally solved their own murders, which is an inspiring thing to think about.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to reading your book. Thank you to Áine, Cain, and Kevin Greenlee and the Murder Sheet podcast. Their new book, The Delphi Murder Shadow of the Bridge, hits bookstores later this month. We appreciate you being back on the program, and we'll see you soon. Thank you guys so much. And still to come, a popular West Coast tourist spot that attracts more than 1 million visitors a year. Well, last month, it was named one of the top 10 travel destinations in the country. So why is the federal government thinking of turning it into a prison of all things? Our True Crime Rewind has that answer next. When most people think of prison, they probably think of something a lot like Alcatraz, the legendary fortress on a small island a mile off of the coast of San Francisco. Well, it was originally a military base and then a military prison before being converted into a federal prison on August 11th, 1934. That was 91 years ago today. The Rock, as it became known, housed the worst of the worst notorious figures such as George Machine Gun Kelly and Al Capone. Fun fact, Capone played banjo in the Alcatraz prison band. That's right. More than 1,500 prisoners were held at Alcatraz over the next 3 decades. 36 of them tried to escape, and 3 might just have made it. They were never caught, never found. In the early 70s, The Rock became a tourist destination, and just last month, TripAdvisor named it one of the country's top 10 attractions. But that could all change again. The federal government is considering a plan to reopen Alcatraz as a prison of last resort for, quote, the most ruthless and violent offenders. So make those reservations now while you still can go back home the same night. Up next, a face only a mother could love, or so you might think. In fact, Labubu dolls are in such high demand that not even padlocks and security cameras can keep them safe from bad guys. You are looking at a high-dollar heist in progress in Southern California. After the break, I'll play you the rest of the video and wait until you hear the value of the haul. It'll blow your mind away. Stay there. Okay, so someone younger than me will have to explain why Labubus are the hottest thing since Beanie Babies. Have you seen these? I get the bunny ears, but the pointy teeth and the evil smile, I mean, I don't know. Are you going to have nightmares for a week if you get one of these things? And I cover murders, so it's got a little bit of a creep appeal. But for whatever reason, people all over the world are collecting these things like crazy. Even our stage crew here is talking about it. The rare ones go for $100 a piece or even more. So if somebody offers you a really cheap one while demand is still off the charts, you might want to pass, especially if you're in Southern California, because they might be stolen. You see, a few days ago, 4 Labubu superfans, or just super thieves, broke into a shop in LA and took every little fuzzy, freakish doll they could find. Here's the videotape. About $7,000 worth, according to the LA County Sheriff's Office. The store's owners suspect the crooks had been watching their social media accounts, then they were promoting a fresh supply of the must-have toy of the summer. Deputies tracked down the perp's stolen pickup truck, but not the stolen merch, Hopefully, it is just a matter of time. Till then, I've still got this little guy, but you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing that a real Labubu doesn't have a head that spins, and this head spins. So this might be one of those Lafufus. So I don't know, whatever the case is, I guess everyone's gonna fight over this one tonight. You see the teeth? I mean, we're talking nightmare stuff here, but this is what it's all about. So now you know. Now you know. So when people start talking about it, you can say that you saw it here on Banfield, all right? So that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching Banfield. Cuomo is next. I'm Laura Ingle, and I will see you this weekend on NewsNation Live.